What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 68 of the Thoughtful Banter podcast. I'm your host, Matthew, with my co-host, Hussein.
Yes, sir.
And today we are, first of all, starting this episode off with saying thank you guys so much. We've reached 1,307 subscribers. Thank you guys for this milestone. We appreciate you guys have been enjoying the content. And also, we're on other streaming platforms. Apparently, after YouTube, our biggest platform where we have most of our listeners on is Apple Podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure to check us out there. Shout out to the patrons on the screen who have been supporting us and just putting some extra money in our pocket. These mics we're holding are through Patreon. This camera has been assisted through Patreon. So it really does go a long way. And I know we've been talking about making content there. We haven't yet. We haven't made content there in a while, but content is going to be coming there soon. We're just, I guess, fixing up the kinks in our production company here. So there we go. What are we talking about today, bro? We got a lot of different things going around. We're chatting up a bit. Did we settle on a topic?
Yeah, I guess we're going to talk about this. This is spurred by a couple things. One, it was spurred by like a comment that we received on a specific video we made. And this video specifically is a clip that, Matty has put hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into producing. It's about, and the title of it is "Why Don't the Rich Arab Nations Care About Palestine?" And basically in this clip, we're talking about everyone talking trash about Iran, but yet Iran's the only one. And like they're talking trash about, Shia countries and how Shia, Iran's plan is to spread Shiism, and that's the only reason they did this, and yada, yada, yada. And then Matthew was just asking a question like, well, what is everyone else doing?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have like 2.8 thousand views on this. I think it's our most viewed video on the channel now.
It is.
And we have 112 comments. Like a lot of comments. Matty's actually read, like, just based on what's been liked and stuff and replied to. It seems like he's read a lot of it. And of course, our replies are counted in the comment count as well. But anyways, one specific comment we got was that our take in this specific clip was spreading or causing or aiding in sectarianism and division between the two sects. So Matty has a response, and I have some little stuff to sprinkle in as well.
Yeah, that was a beautiful intro. So this is such an interesting topic because it's such a heated topic, frankly, amongst the Ummah. And I think it's fair to say, before getting into this topic, there's no way I can say something on this or anyone that makes everyone happy, as far as I know.
Yeah, literally impossible.
So that's never the goal.
Yeah.
My goal isn't to make any listener happy, to be honest with you. So you can disagree, right? You can feel uncomfortable. You can hate it. Unfortunately, I can't afford to care. That sounds bad, but I can't afford to care.
You're not going to make everyone happy. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And I may be wrong about some things. And, when I'm wrong, just may Allah forgive me. And I hope that if I am wrong, I understand why I'm wrong soon so I can correct myself. But my thoughts on the situation are sectarianism as is focusing on sex and splitting up the Ummah up and having wars inside the Ummah is a cancer to the Ummah. Like, that's my stance on the matter.
Yeah, I mean, this even goes, if you want to take it a level deeper, it doesn't even happen between sex. It happens within sex too,
Very much so, yeah.
I think there was I just want to read this because it was sent to me today and I thought it was hilarious and it relates to what we're talking about. It says, once I saw this guy on a bridge about to jump. I said, "Don't do it." He said, "Nobody loves me." I said, "God loves you. Do you believe in God?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Are you a Christian, a Muslim, or a Jew?" He said, "A Muslim." "Me too," I said. "Shia or Sunni?" He said, "Shia." I said, "Me too. Jafari, Ismaili, Zaidi, Alavi, or Nusayri?" He said, "Jafari." I said, "Me too. Matmi or Inqilabi?" He said, "Matmi." I said, "Me too. Taqlidi or Ghair Taqlidi?" He said, "Taqlidi." I said, "Me too. Do you follow Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Shirazi, or Ayatollah Bashir Hussein Najafi?" He said, "Ayatollah Bashir Hussein Najafi." I said, me too. Do you say Aliyun Waliyullah in Tashahhud or only in Adhan? He said, only in Adhan. I said, die, Muqassir, and I pushed him over. They just highlight,
That's
to your
insane.
point.
That's a great clip. No, that's exactly. Yeah, that clip. Yeah, what else can I say? Really?
Yeah,
so
I kind of summed it up, right?
yeah. So there's always infighting, right? Like to our comment, it's like don't. So, going back to like at least my perspective, and I don't think it's fair that I say I speak for you, right? So I would love to hear your opinion after this. My opinion on this matter is I think people who identify as Muslims should be united, right? So Sunnis and Shias should be united. And I think the reasoning for that is very clear. I think Sunnis are Muslims, even though I'm Shia. I think Sunnis are Muslims. They're valid Muslims. And I think in Islam, we're obviously taught to get along with people who aren't even Muslim, right? So why wouldn't we get along with Muslims who just have a different understanding of what Islam is? And furthermore, the difference between a Sunni and Shia, ultimately, is a different interpretation of Hadith and following different people who interpret Hadith in history. It comes down to that. We have the same Quran, but again, like people kind of simplify it. We have the same Quran. I'm like, yeah, but if we have different people, we have different tafsirs, right? So if you have a different tafsir and different scholars, yeah, the things are going to be interpreted differently. But at the end of the day, I think Muslims are Muslims, right? Because like if there's even disagreements amongst the actual like Sahaba, then why wouldn't there be disagreements amongst scholars? So people think that because scholars disagree, one person's wrong. It's like, is anyone here God? Like, no, right? So that's my take on the issue. But I think the problem is that, and I'm gonna cut myself here after I say this because I'm talking too much. But I think the problem is how we address unity. See, I see people who their way of talking about of having unity, right? Their ultimate goal is just unity idea. But it's to say, brother, there's no difference. There's no difference. Don't even mention Shia. Don't even mention Sunni. I'm just Muslim. Mm-hmm. I'm just Muslim. You ask someone who they are, I'm just Muslim, brother. Don't say Shia. That's sectarianism, right? Don't mention the differences. And to me,
so that's unity or that's sectarianism? You're saying that's some people's idea of unity. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm saying, to me, that's the equivalent of saying, brother Hussein, you're not black. You're human.
Yeah.
I don't see color, brother.
You're not white, man.
I can't see the texture of your hair being different. I'm like,
you're just ignoring reality.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you can still. Yeah. Anyways, continue. That's all you have to say.
Yeah.
I guess my take on unity is, I think I have yet to hear an explanation of two things. One is, and this can be applied to like a lot of things. What is the goal of unity? Is it? Yeah, I guess like what is the goal of unity? Because I get into a lot of these I go into a lot of these multicultural intra-faith spaces or even interfaith spaces, and like you said, everyone's like kumbayaing like we're all the same. Mm-hmm. Even if you're at a place with like Christians and Jews, which were pretty different, but that's the attitude is still had. And so my question is like, it doesn't seem like there's a clear goal for us to strive towards together. Because what else would we be unified for? I guess that's like my kind of thing I'm trying to understand and have yet to be explained to me in a way that makes sense. So that's one thing. And then you can like speak to that if you have an idea. And then the second thing is like kind of in the same vein is people ask unity. But if there is someone that I don't view as a Muslim, for example, what is my incentive to have that unity? Now, that doesn't mean I hate them. That doesn't mean I like try to kill them. That doesn't mean I have animosity towards them. But like, why should I go out of my way and make myself uncomfortable? Like, what is the incentive in doing that? Outside of like, perhaps like the general like respect and brotherhood that you're supposed to have between your fellow man, right? So they're kind of like two not issues, but things that I always kind of had questions about in terms of unity. Like and just to give a personal example, and I said this last week as well, I don't have an urge or desire to have unity with someone from the Nation of Islam. I don't have an urge or desire to have unity with an Ahmadi. Like, and then like, I guess the second question, how do we decide like which order of
operations?
Yeah, like the order of operations as far as unity is concerned, like who has most priority, and then like going all the way down, right? These are kind of questions I've just always had. This is not to say that we shouldn't pursue unity. I just want some clarity.
You're just asking questions.
Yeah.
You're honestly being very humble just to say, I don't have an opinion. Like, you didn't give your opinion. You're asking questions.
Yeah.
And you're asking good questions. I don't know. I mean, I think on the first point, I have an idea. I think the first, I think honestly, the benefit of unity is more of, it's not a religious one. It's it's like a dunya one. Mm-hmm. It's about like consoling power for the Muslims. Consolidating power. Thank you. What would I do without you? Like, I'd be saying stuff wrong all the time. And you're like correcting me. I'd be sounding 10 times more stupid. Consolidating, like power consolidation, I think is, to be very frank, I think that's the biggest motivation. Mm-hmm. There's always like this, there's this notion of the potential Muslim empire. It's very glamorous. People hold on to it. Like people talk about, like the ancient Arab empire or like the Turks. Right, like let's go back to like when Turkey was like a massive Muslim empire, right? It's like there's these ideas that people hold on to, and I think they're fair, right? Like if I'm a Muslim, why wouldn't I want to see like a Muslim world in a sense? I think that's probably the biggest one, to be honest. And like
people outside of America or the West in general, like that live in Muslim countries.
Yeah.
If that's like the most important thing, a lot of them will have a far less incentive even to create unity, right?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it's the same thing.
Like what Muslim power is there to consolidate? Our government is Muslim. For example.
More like our government would get bigger if like we expand with like with that Shia government over there. We join to one, and then we take over this Christian country. They become Muslim, and then we join here.
So conquest.
Yeah, it's basically conquest. I think that's like a lot of people they have in their minds.
I will say. I just thought of this as you were talking. If by unity people mean like destigmatizing the other, as in like not having nasty thoughts about them, not thinking they deserve death, like all these kind of things, then yeah, I understand. Like I think that's a worthy goal to pursue. But after that, it's kind of also where I have questions, because a lot of the unity spaces I've been to, no one is like these guys are with the vibe, like no one's actually, you're not dispelling anything for that group of people. So then after dispelling those things, what's next? Because that's like the argument for like, the same thing can be said for like masajid or like communities that are all one race. And people are like, oh, we need like diversity. Mm-hmm. And the people that are in them are like, why?
I'm vibing.
Why? And the people that are for it, one of the things they cite is like, kind of that destigmatizing. And when you live and rub shoulders with, the other, they stop being the other and just start being like a person. Mm-hmm. Like, stop being identified by that otherness though.
Besides that, I think there's probably a good amount of people who will just think that like religiously, for like a religious level, we're meant to have unity because maybe like we find the truth together, quote unquote. Like I don't think the Ummah is supposed to be split up in many different pieces. So maybe if we, like we got all the Sunni scholars, we got all the Shia scholars, we come together, they bust open all the Hadith books, they bust open everything, and they cite it all. They find a middle ground, and we decide this is the truth. And we're actually at one Ummah. For me, what triggers me is when people say there's one Ummah. There's no one Ummah. This is such a big thing, right? Like, and I can't imagine like how reverts or converts feel, because people who be converting them always be telling them on one Ummah. This is false advertising. It's one Ummah, and then you see Iran attacks Israel, who's attacking Palestine. All people can say is, "Hey, watch out! Don't love Iran too much. They're Shia." Like what?
Yeah.
Don't like Iran too much. They're Shia. They attacked our enemies, but they're Shia. Watch out! Watch out! Hate Iran more than Israel. What? They're shirk. They're shirk committing mushriks. I'm like, okay, what? Like, I'm
Yeah.
confused.
Yeah. It
Brain
seems like,
rot.
yeah, exactly. Literally, the priorities are all out of whack. I guess my second question, or my third question.
I'd rather be oppressed by Jews than be helped by a Shia. That's literally what some people's takes are.
Yeah. I don't know, whatever question I'm on, for the people that do want unity, what is supposed to happen? And perhaps I just have a wrong conception of what unity is, right? Like, maybe I'm still subconsciously accepting like the kumbaya thing. But if I have a belief, I have a belief, you have a belief. Our belief not only spit out different like realities, but they spit out like opposite realities, right? So in my belief, not only are you not Muslim, but you're like aggressively anti-Islam. Like whatever position that you take makes you anti-Islam. And then your belief is, the same thing but the opposite direction for me. What do we do with these people?
I think
Should there be anything done? I don't know.
I don't know, bro. I mean, I think. Like,
I mean, someone in the comments, like, if you're, because I know people that are like big about this stuff. I just haven't had the chance to sit down and have these kind of conversations with them. But I really would like someone to explain it to me because I'm not exactly grasping what it is we're aiming for. And I'm not against it necessarily. I'm just like, what is happening?
I really do think when I think about it more and more, I do think it's really about that conquest,
power,
but not just conquest for the sake of conquest alone. I think as Muslims really look at it, like we've always been attacked, like we see like Muslim countries being oppressed, and I think we think like, dude, if we could just stop this. Like we have 2 billion people, but the problem is they're not all on the same page. So hypothetically, if 2 billion Muslims all got on the same page, the only person who would be oppressing us is ourselves. You know, and I honestly think that's like the biggest motivation. I think that's what makes you that sparks the thought, right? Like, damn, why are people here getting oppressed? Where are all the Muslims? Oh, if we were just all on the same page, the problem is a lot of Muslims don't see other Muslims as Muslims.
Well, there's that, but also like even a lot of Muslims don't necessarily agree that the path forward when you live under oppressive dictators, for example, is to overthrow that dictator. Like there are even different opinions on that kind of stuff, right? So it's like, where do we go?
We need Imam Mahdi, bro. That's it.
Yeah. But like, if I'm like developing this coalition and we're all trying to have brotherhood, and then there's someone who's like, who comes in is like, yo, this shouldn't be the goal. None of this makes sense according to my belief. What do I do with that person besides ostracize them from that group?
I don't know.
That doesn't necessarily mean you like, and this is maybe something, there's like so many layers to this because like you are supposed to disassociate, if not in pursuit of a higher goal, you are supposed to disassociate from mushriks. You are supposed to disassociate from kafir, right? So this adds like another layer of complexity onto this thing. Like someone who's blaspheming openly against God, in your opinion, you're not supposed to associate with that person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, like that's not my best friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Now perhaps like the differences aren't that extreme, but I think parties on both sides view it that way some of the time. Right?
And now I do see why people who are like very pro unity tend to be like, okay, subdue everything else that we don't all agree on, which I think is kind of fair. I think of like but then of course it's like if it depends on how much we're on the same page about things. Like there's some things I'm not willing to, be more quiet about.
Yeah.
Like if someone believes hypothetically that there's more than one God, I'm not going to have unity in the sense of like, I mean, I think that's like a hard line as being a Muslim.
I mean, we'll have like,
you have to believe in one God.
Besides
Tawheed.
like outside of like the love or level of connection that you have for your fellow man, that's like, we're also encouraged to have, like, hey, your neighbor, right? even if they're even the neighbor could be a mushrik, I might still bring him. If I'm new to the neighborhood, I might still bring him like snacks or
like
something,
some
right?
cookies,
Like
some baked cookies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just probably not gonna eat food at his house, right? So there's still like that level. But as far as like pursuing any kind of religious goals, I guess, like, yeah, what are we supposed to do with that? You know, it's the same thing. Like, and then like the unity, it's like, how far do we go down this unity line before we hit a red line for everyone? So a red line for everyone is like LGBT Muslims, right?
Yeah.
Like no one
Pretty
is
much.
clamoring for unity with them because everyone's like, no, that crosses like a specific line that none of us feel comfortable crossing.
Hallelujah.
That none of us feel comfortable crossing. But similarly, for each group in this unity circle, there is a group of people that have a belief that also crosses that red line. Why do we have you? Like, how far do we take the unity thing?
Yeah.
Why do we have unity with LGBTQ Muslims? We'll just suspend everything that we disagree on, and we'll just go with it with what we vibe on. Maybe that's a strategy. Perhaps like maybe that is. Like, there are people who are in the audience listening, who would think that's a reasonable strategy. Like, I mean, I've had conversations with people that are like, should we agree with if we're pushing
But a
towards
good
like,
example of that. Sorry.
if we're pushing towards like a free Palestine, for example, if that's what we're aiming for. If we're going,
We got fans? What's happening?
they're just looking at it. She's like, yo, look at them. And then she's like trying to slickly like look over. Anyways,
Like and sub.
if our goal is like a free Palestine, for example, should we allow everyone who aligns with us on that to come into the group? And this is just unity in a specific thing, right? This is not even unity about like within religion. This is unity on like one issue. Should we allow everyone who aligns with us on that topic to come into the group, or should there be some kind of like exclusionary mechanism that we put in place? So if for example, LGBTQ Muslims, whatever group represents them in the area, was like, hey, we'd love to come on and join your protest, would we say, okay, but you can't talk about XYZ? We're just talking about this thing? Or is it just a rejection of them because ideologically, fundamentally, they promote something that we absolutely disagree with?
I was going to say, using that example, there's a perfect scenario that basically explains all the issues that we have with like this kind of situation, right? So LGBT Muslims in your scenario you're making, let's say they want to join our Palestine rally, right? Palestine rally is being ran by like a Shia group, right? So we're like, okay, come. They come. And it's time for Salat. And there's a brother, like chromosomally a brother, wearing hijab with a beard who wants to pray next to me. There's a sister who's chromosomally a sister who's
so a biological woman.
A biological woman who identifies as a brother next to me in Salat. She has a torba and everything. Right?
Yeah.
And she's like presenting as masculine, whatever. Like, but like, I can tell as a woman. She's right next to me. It's like, and it's not even like my issue with like anything like any homophobia or whatever. It's like, it's haram for me to be next to you like this. We're too close. We're shoulder by shoulder. You need to be in the back row. Like, what do we do? Because those are the issues that come up, right? And with like, you can use that. There's so many different ways that scenario applies to all these other forms of unity, right? Like, you go to a protest and other people join in, they want to help out, and like, it's good intentions. We brought food, which you can't eat.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's just like a really simple one, right?
Very simple.
Because then you just don't eat it. But like, that's not ideological.
And it get worse and worse.
But it could get worse. Yeah.
And it can get messy
way
quick.
worse.
And people get offended. Because like, then if I'm like, in my God honest boundary is like sister, which if I say that, that'll be like a problem. I'm like, human, right? Respectfully. Like, however you identify as, maybe it's between you and Allah, but like, this is the Jamaat Salat, which means we're all praying together in communion. I can't be next to you. If that person can then decide to be that offended, and now we're having a squabble. And I'm like, I didn't want to have beef, but I'm also like, this is my boundary to me and Allah. So how do we find unity?
in that. Yeah.
Do people have answers? Are we just ignoring these issues? That's the problem with this unity stuff.
No, I think there's like, realistically, there's like extremes on both sides, right? And there's like a middle ground. There's like the educated person who's like a moderate on both sides as well. And then in between them, sandwiched in between them, let me mute this. And then sandwiched in between them are like a whole bunch of lay people that on both sides that have no idea what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like no idea what the broader like religious arguments or contentions even are. That's probably where you do the most work as far as unity is concerned. To be fair, that's also probably where the most people are. But then my thing is like, are we just doing the unity to like bring people to our side? Maybe, maybe. I just wish someone would tell me that.
Yeah, instead of us just saying like unity.
Yeah, like
For what? Like, tell us the goal. Yeah, it's sticky, and again, like the whole Sunni Shia thing, it's like it's a big deal because I think like for me, like I think it really does get in the way of the ummah. Like I think a lot of people will have a lot of more resources on both ends if we just got along.
But here's the thing. I think the real issue is, and maybe I'm answering my question right now, but the real issue is not the differences themselves. It's like the dehumanization of the people that have those beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And so remember I was talking about if the goal of unity is to dispel kind of those ideas, that makes sense.
I agree. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Whether it's with really anyone.
Yeah.
Because we shouldn't be dehumanizing people. Even
and
people
like,
we don't like.
You see this even, and I'm about to trigger some people, but even with the Israel-Palestine stuff, you'll see like Israelis running from a bomb or something, or running from an attack, and then someone will be like, the screams of Israelis is music to my ear. And you're sitting there, you're like we shouldn't be rejoicing at that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like there is, even if I disagree with that person, I think that person is wrong. Sometimes I may even think that person is evil or aiding in evil. I'm not happy, and they may deserve it. On a human level, I'm not happy that like suffering happened. I'm happy. I'm like, and there are exceptions to this. I think there are evils big enough where you're like happy that they're gone. But I think most people don't fall into this category.
But the human suffering level.
Yeah.
Like even if like a rapist who raped and killed children, like I think most people are like, dude, that guy needs to die. Yeah, that's fair. But like, am I happy if we throw him into like a fire and he dies by burning to death in a fire?
Yeah, like that's like
I think he should have died. I don't think I got joy from hearing him scream and slowly burn to death.
Yeah. So if the unity, I mean,
It's
basically
very
yeah.
violent.
So if unity is to address that like dehumanization, because again, a person from the nation, we don't consider them Muslim. They believe in a prophet after the prophet. They believe in like walking gods. Like this is not something that we subscribe to. I'd never root if someone went and firebombed the Nation of Islam community and took a machete and a group of guys with machetes and guns and cleared out and killed everyone within that community. I'm not happy. I'm not happy about that. I'm not rejoicing.
Yeah. And we're not, and like if people were standing up for it, we're not going to tweet about it saying, they were mushrik, right?
Exactly.
Like some of y'all.
Like that is
like some of y'all
insanity.
are doing that.
That is straight up insanity.
I hate some of y'all.
That is straight up insanity.
Yeah.
So I think, and perhaps I answered my own question about like what is the goal of unity. Maybe that's the goal of unity.
I think that probably is the goal of unity because I think, to be fair, you can say what you want about the times we live in, and people will oftentimes overreact with how bad society is right now. But the truth is, we are severely less violent than we were like a couple hundred years ago. In every possible level. Like we talk about kids watching video games. Oh, they're so violent. No. People used to just get publicly killed by the government for punishment. Like people used to watch this as entertainment, right?
Literally.
and even things between sects, like between between Sunni and Shias, like things were worse back in the day. You know, it's like the internet videos have really changed things. And like the society, like population levels rising and people just having to live more with each other, it's changed things. I think circling back on like maybe a more positive note of like, I think how to maybe achieve unity, because I have some thoughts on this and I want to hear your thoughts on this.
And
as
by
well.
unity, you mean like the kind of like getting rid of those
that you were talking about.
Okay.
Getting rid of like the dehumanization. And to me, this is what's really important, because, and I'll be honest, and like maybe I just need to get thicker skin because we're podcasters. When I see these comments, not even about us. When I just see comments, I like, this is really important to me. When I see comments on any content that's a Muslim content that references Shias, the first thing I always do is go to the comments. And I go to the comments and I don't have to scroll to see a comment that says Shias aren't even Muslims. And that comment might have 20,000 likes, 30,000 likes, 50,000 likes. And there'll be multiple of those kinds of comments. And the sentiment really disturbs and bothers me, because as someone who's a Muslim, who is Shia, who grew up having Sunni friends, I don't understand it. It's just blatantly ignorant and wrong. And it really bothers me, because growing up as like a half white, half Iranian kid, I always thought I was always told unity is important. And now I'm feeling like, do Shias only care about unity on one hand, and does the other side not want unity? Which is a whole different conversation we can get into.
Yeah. I also think some of the anti-unity stuff, to be fair, like in this conversation that we're having, a lot of this is like people who are really online, and like
Chronically.
You find less of this stuff in real life, but it still exists. I've had interactions in Muslim like Husseiniya's masjids, whatever you want to call them, like Sunni masjids. People have called me kafir and whatnot. So like it does happen.
Insane.
Again, this is not like me saying this is an excuse to like think of them a certain way, but like the stuff does occur.
It's a reality,
even in real life. But to be fair, a lot of what we're talking about specifically does come from like a very loud minority. Like I think the vast majority of people on both sides again are like kind of not super up on it.
You know, I do think it's a loud minority, but I think it's a loud minority that's not really getting checked.
That's true.
Like, I think it's like, oh, that's my boy. I don't agree with him, but I didn't say anything. And
no, it's similar to like
racism, kind of, right? Like,
I was gonna say, like, if you go on Twitter now, since Elon Musk has taken over, I think like the occurrences of freaking like homophobia, racism, sexism has just shot up through the roof. Alex Jones, just to give you an example, Alex Jones posted a photo of Hitler on Hitler's birthday and said, no. He said, this guy is not our king, basically. He said, I don't want anything to do with this guy. He was a mass murderer. He did all these bad things. He was evil. The comments under that tweet are all in support of Hitler. It's like the most insane thing I've ever seen.
To be fair, it might just be like a 4chan, like these guys. There's like trolling communities. You don't think so?
No,
like legit Hitler supporters.
Yes, bro. Yes, and this stuff is coming up more and more and more. And to your point, it's not the fact. The fact of the matter is, probably in real life, these people are still a minority. They're just super loud, but they are not getting checked, which is also an important part, I think.
And I think
there has to be like a balance to the ecosystem, you know?
To me, getting checked isn't being completely censored. In my personal opinion, I'm not a big fan of censorship. I think
it depends, but yeah.
To not go down that rabbit hole, I'll just say I'm not a big fan of censorship. I didn't say like it's not necessary at times, because God knows it is completely necessary at times. And now you want me to? I want to like start debating someone about that right now, because anyways, I won't get into it, but I think conversations need to be had. Like, and I just say like back to the Sunni Shia thing, right? There's a lot of people, and it's also on the Shia end as well. There's Shias who say the same thing, and I'm like, y'all are everyone. The Shia who says a Sunni isn't Muslim and a Sunni who says a Shia is a Muslim are both so extremely arrogant and honestly are displaying really despicable behavior. Because at the end of the day, does that person believe that there's one God and that God's Allah?
I don't.
Do they? And to me, I'm like, check. Okay. Do they believe that?
No. But that's not a check for some some of them. Like some of them don't think that's a check for us.
I know that, but that's what I'm getting to.
Okay.
It's like there's a knowledge barrier. Like people don't think that Shias believe in only one God.
No.
Wait. What are you saying?
You're saying that people think that Shias don't believe in one God out of ignorance.
Mm.
I'm saying no. They know that we say, and that we may believe that we say when we say that we believe in one God, but our actions in other areas prove otherwise. That's different.
I don't think that's the case for a lot of people. I think that's like the more educated, like Wahhabi type.
Yeah.
The average Sunni who like I might debate online, who just listens to like the Wahhabi talking points, he'll say, "Oh, you guys believe in more than one God." I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Fair.
I've never prayed to anyone but Allah.
Mm.
I was like, what one guy asked me, he was like, when you're in need and you ask for strength, you ask Ali. I said, "No, God, I'm praying to Ali's God." Who did Ali ask for strength? Himself? No, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for strength. So I'm asking the Lord of Ali, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is like a fair, like, I think you know, like, nation and stuff. That's a good conversation. I say, like, for the sake of this episode, belief in one God, right? Belief in Prophet Muhammad, right? Belief that he is the last prophet, right? Belief in the day of judgment, aka you live once, you die, and you're held accountable for your actions, and belief in the Quran, you're a Muslim. Like, those are all really core elements. And like the vast majority of all people on earth who say that I'm Muslim believe in those things, even if they don't practice them. So a lot of people don't practice those things. They drink, smoke, whatever, but like in their heart, they made shahada. They just really aren't implementing it, which is, you know, that's their journey, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think like that's like the line we have, and that's what people forget about. But, and I guess this is an important point. People then see differences in the implementation of those things, but they forget is like, and people just aren't thinking, okay, how did Islam come to be? Islam's a religion that's 1,400 years old. 1,400 years ago, there's no Wi-Fi. There is no one recording Prophet Muhammad's majlis on their phone and sending it. No. People were writing things down on parchment paper, right?
If they could get that.
If they could get that, which was an expensive resource.
Yeah,
people were writing things down on parchment paper or clay, and they're telling each other things. And the religion spread by word of mouth and text.
Yeah.
And over the years,
I mean, we have so
burned.
many hadith that are like, you know, this person says, I heard this thing from the person that they're like, from the prophet. I heard this thing from the prophet. And we're like, okay, so now how do we determine the veracity of this person who says I heard?
And there's a whole study of hadith because of that. Because people say, I heard this from the prophet. Okay, who is this person? Oh, let's find this name. It says here this guy was drinking a lot. Maybe not the best source. All right, the next person. But then even it's like, okay, well, that's the guy's name. People had a lot of names. Was that like his nickname or was that his name? How many like Abdul Maliks are there? Right?
Yeah.
Abdul Malik like this or Abdul Malik, I don't know, Bashir. I don't know. So it's complicated.
Yeah, and then it's like, you know, maybe we heard this hadith from this guy and he himself is not reliable, but we've also heard this hadith, a version of this hadith from like 50 other guys, and like out of those 50 other guys, like 30 of them are reliable. So it's probably good.
So it's probably good. Right? Or crazy shit, what if all 60 of those hadith or 51 of those hadith, they're all manufactured by some non-Muslim in order to make this seat in the ummah, which happens. Plenty of hadith are manufactured for the sake of like confusing people. Okay. That sounds all really complicated, right? It is. So it's so to me, I'm like, I think it's not. I think like I'm steadfast in like, yeah, I'm a Muslim Shia, whatever. But I'm like, I think it's important to acknowledge that it's complicated, and like we shouldn't be hating on people who come to different logical conclusions if their actions are sincere. Which is then why I go. My thinking is, okay, there's the information of the religion, but then there's the spirit of the religion. And we have to judge people by both, because we're looking at sincerity, right? And we can get from Quran that like when Allah like enters people's hearts, and when people are Muslim, they behave a certain way as well. They don't just think logically a certain way, and they don't just say a certain thing. It's a certain action. So like when you see like the Prophet, peace be upon him, like how patient he was with his uncle, who was extremely abusive to him.
Abu Lahab, yeah.
Abu Lahab, he was extremely abusive, Abu Lahab. And the Prophet was like trying his best to be like, basically bring him to Islam. Abu Lahab was just really hard-headed. Well, like, that's like, you know, like you see like that, like, okay, that's our Prophet, right? Or like how kind he, you know, everyone heard the story of like the Jewish woman who put trash on his head, et cetera, et cetera. There's like a million stories, right? So like, that's why we have to like, again, combine our, like our knowledge and then like the heart of things, and try to tread with some humility, and not think we know everything just because we were born into a sect realistically and our parents taught us something and we think this is the only reality people can reach. A lot of life experiences and exposure to different things can make you believe in many different realities. Sorry.
No, you were spitting. And I think the thing you were saying about reaching different conclusions, but approaching them with like sincerity to find the truth, is just the way that knowledge operates, especially when you don't have like a top down, like person on top who's the ultimate authority on something telling you the way it's supposed to be, which we don't.
And this will all be solved by that. Which is, I mean, I think is, I mean, Sunni Shia, we believe in Imam Mahdi, right? Believe in the Mahdi figure, and we believe Prophet Isa is going to come with him, and we believe in Rasulullah. And between Rasulullah and Mahdi, there's a huge gap, right? But pretty much like we're on the same page, you know, or try to be. Hopefully we get some help soon.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say is, as useful as some people found Sayyid Ammar's series during Ramadan, I think for some of the reasons that we discussed already, it was kind of dumb and detrimental.
Especially during this time we're in.
Especially during just like all the turbulence and turmoil in Gaza and stuff like that. It's just not a good look. And there are ways to talk about these things, and there are ways to strengthen the beliefs of Shias and have them have arguments for other arguments from sects that people levy against them, right? Without doing it the way that he did it. He was very sarcastic, mocking. It did not seem like he was acting in good faith. So yeah, that's just.
Are we gonna have our Shia fan base now hate us?
Maybe
we can go in on Sayyid Ammar.
Maybe. I mean, I can go in on that series, and like anyone who wants to talk to me about how it was a good thing, honestly, I have to run this by Matthew. But I'd be open to having you like on the show defend him.
I mean, it sounds good to me. You know, it depends on who, right?
Yeah. I mean, not just anyone, but like if there's someone who seems like they're making sense, or we know
someone who's actually read the series. Not read, but
I'd be more than happy to have a discussion about the benefits versus the harms of that.
We'd love to talk about this more. We have to wrap up. It's
Yeah.
about an hour, but I think we had a great conversation. Inshallah, it was. Inshallah, at least it wasn't terrible, like, and stupid. You know, forgive us if we made any mistakes. It's just two bros having their opinions. But I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you guys for your support. Podcast is growing, inshallah. Please comment down below what you guys would like to see. Make sure to share with a friend. If you have a friend who is a big fan of the Sayyid Ammar lecture series and actually like watched them all and has some good ideas, you know, you can DM us on our Instagram or Hussein and I's individual accounts. Just reach out to us. And thank you guys again for supporting. I think this year I'd like to see us. Well, this is your phone. Wow. I'd like to see us get like around 5,000 subscribers, 5 to 10,000 subscribers, inshallah.
That'd be awesome.
So thank you guys for the support and help us get there, inshallah. Salam.
Salam.